Phoenix Lady here. Welcome to part 4 of the introduction to my Living the Delphian Way blog. And enjoy the background, a Hubble photo of the Orion Nebula. We arrived in Colorado Springs in late 1994, got settled, and began to get used to living in a big city again. I got a part-time job as office manager for the Blueprint Company on recommendation from the editor of the Greeley Tribune. I spent the next 4 years learning how everything from homes to huge clean room fabrication facilities for companies like Intel are designed and built. I also went to a variety of home and garden shows where I collected a lot of information and ideas about, well, everything. I also got involved in local Republican politics, even as I did volunteer work with Space Foundation on the one hand, and set up a National Space Society and chapter in town on the other. Through this work, I got to know several Air Force generals, active duty and retired. After all, besides Cheyenne Mountain and NORAD, been inside twice on tours, the Air Force Academy and Schriever Air Force Base, missile and cyber defense, we had, until it moved to Offutt Air Force Base in Nebraska, U.S. Space Command, as well as Air Force Space Command, which is still there in Colorado Springs. Trust me, you haven't lived until the retired 4-star general who founded U.S. Space Command makes a pass at you following a fancy dinner at the Broadmoor Resort. To say I was surprised and honored to be noticed by such an august mover and shaker is an understatement. But then, Me Too didn't exist back then, and I consider it a crybaby organization anyway. Just living in such a strong military town gave me a whole different take on the military mindset, one which is nothing like what you see in the MSN, mainstream media. While no more perfect than anyone else, most military in this country since the implementation of the voluntary armed forces are adults, focused on recognizing and resolving problems rather than crying over hurt feelings. Not that we didn't have our share of crybabies, given the presence of Colorado College, a major liberal arts college founded by General Palmer, who also founded the town. But you don't want to hear about some of the stupid ideas and people that came out of CC over the years, at least not here. All this eventually led me to work with my husband and others to make a presentation to 3 squadrons of cadets-elect, high school students at Air Academy preparing to enter the Air Force Academy, about why space development was important to them. The very next year, with a little help from me, several of those students managed to get a National Space Society chapter set up at the Academy itself. I can't say how it's doing, as I gave up on space development when Obama was elected as a result of the crash of '07. Still, arranging for Bob Zubrin, founder of the Mars Society and a friend of mine, to speak to 400 cadets about his Mars Direct proposal is a fond memory. He didn't have any problem selling all of the books he brought with him. During the late 90s, Amazon finally caught up with me and made the Kindle platform available to independent authors. Over the years since, I've published around 18 books. I never did any serious marketing, perhaps because I never got any encouragement from family or friends, and because I've never had the entrepreneurial mindset. I've always been much more interested in creating beauty and wonder and sharing my take on reality and my place in it than in trying to persuade anyone else to pay attention to me or my work. Call me a coward if you like, because I don't like being told I can't write and should just shut up. This actually happened to me back in the early 70s when I published a Star Trek fanzine. The first issue had a short story of mine called Death, Where Is Thy Sting? Without realizing it, I broke several taboos in writing, at least for Star Trek fanfic. First, the hero and heroine both die. They were not major characters in the canon, since I wasn't stupid enough to write about any ST characters after being told by the legal department of Lincoln Enterprises, the company making ST back in the day, to cease and desist. That was back when I was in high school. Second, I had just become a born-again Christian, and that showed in the story. Third, well, I seriously offended an older ST fan of some note within fandom as a folk singer and writer of gay and otherwise avant-garde fiction. That experience was my first encounter with a serious crybaby of the extreme left persuasion. Talk about being slugged out of left field. Still, it did lead to a 2-year letter exchange. Whether she learned anything from me, I can't say, but I sure learned a lot. I turned that story eventually into my novel, Call Me Cassandra, available on Amazon. Still, this introduction is not a plug for my stories or even this video log. I just thought you might be interested in knowing a bit more about me, both what I'm interested in and what I think about what's going on now, as well as why. See you in the next video. Phoenix Lady out.